All right. Okay, I won't be able to see the chat, but would somebody unmute real quickly and just let me know if you can see the first slide with Paul Gauguin Cruises and a beautiful picture
I
of
can
their
see
ship.
it. I can see it.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, that's
All
good.
right. So, thank you very much again for joining me this evening. As many of you know, I am a planner, and looking ahead, I have a milestone birthday that is coming up in 2026. So, on my bucket list for a few years has been seeing French Polynesia, specifically Tahiti and Bora Bora. And so, I invite you this evening to just learn a little bit more about French Polynesia, Paul Gauguin Cruises, because I did some research. And when I learned more about Paul Gauguin, I was like, this is the supplier that I want to experience this beautiful location with. And so my goal tonight is really to share with you my passion for travel and learning. And if this trip sounds of interest, I'll share a little bit more about it at the end. It is in July of 2026. But I'm going to start off talking about the cruise line, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the islands and what you can experience there. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with Paul Gauguin Cruises, they have one ship, and it's this MS Paul Gauguin, and it's the highest rated and longest continually sailing luxury cruise ship in the South Pacific. So no other luxury ship in history has offered this level of single destination focus and expertise on a year-round basis for such an extended period of time. Paul Gauguin Cruises is actually celebrating their 25th anniversary in Polynesia. So with this one ship, they do itineraries all over the French Polynesia, and we'll talk a little bit more about the islands that they service. But what's really amazing is this ship holds no more than 330 guests, and it really gives you a up close and authentic experience of the South Seas. We're going to learn a few Tahitian words tonight. So, Yorana means hello in Tahitian. And you'll see in this picture the lovely Gauguins that will greet you when you're on board, and they actually serve as hostesses on board. There's also some Gauguins, and those are the males that we will also be experiencing. Here is another Tahitian word, Mayava, and this is welcome in Tahitian. So let's talk a little bit about where we could potentially be going to for those of you who would like to join me. One of the things that I thought was really cool, and I don't know if my cursor will show up on here, but you'll see Honolulu near the middle top part of your screen, and it's got a little orange star. You'll notice that Papeete in Tahiti is actually on the same longitude as Hawaii. So if you are traveling, I know I've got some folks on this evening from Florida. I've got folks on from New Mexico. Los Angeles may be your closest airport to get a nonstop flight to Papeete, which is where the tour starts off. It is an 8-hour nonstop flight, and I'll talk a little bit more about the airlines that do fly this route in a bit. Some of you may be on from Alaska, so friends up there, you'd be routing through Seattle, and that's about a 9.5-hour nonstop flight. I've actually had several of you who've heard about this trip asking about potentially stopping in Honolulu for a few days prior. And I think that's a great option because from Honolulu to Papeete is 5 hours nonstop. So not a terribly long flight. If afterwards you want to do some exploring, Tokyo, as you can see in the top left corner, is an 11-hour nonstop flight. You could even go on to Paris, which is 21 hours from Papeete, or you could spend some time in Auckland, New Zealand, which is 5 hours, or Sydney, Australia, which is 7 hours. So you could definitely extend and explore some other areas that you might have had the opportunity to visit yet. So here is a great map of French Polynesia, and it's actually separated into five different groupings of islands. And so the first one I'm going to talk about is Society Islands, and I'll mainly spend the majority of this evening talking about what is there that you can experience. The Society Islands were believed to have been named by Captain James Cook, and this was during his first voyage way back in 1769. Supposedly, he called them the Society Islands because the sponsor of his trip was, because this was actually the first British scientific survey that had been done of the islands, and it was done by the Royal Society. However, Cook actually wrote in his journal that he called the islands society as they lay contiguous to one another. So you may not be aware, but there is a population of almost 276,000 inhabitants, and 50% of the population of the Society Islands live on the main island of Tahiti. So it's the darkest island that's in that circle, and it's where the capital city of French Polynesia is, which is Papeete. Here's some beautiful pictures here of what you can experience when traveling in the Society Islands. And I did want to call out at the top right, you see a beautiful example of an atoll. So these are ring-shaped islands that are found throughout French Polynesia, but they include this rim here, which is a coral rim that encircles a lagoon. And one of the reasons I picked Paul Gauguin for this trip is because they are the only cruise line that's actually allowed to go inside of the atoll here. So you can only imagine what the snorkeling and scuba diving is here with all the different fish and the coral and various sea life. So this is quite an opportunity to see these islands in a very up close and personal way. So also included in French Polynesia is the Tuamotu atolls. And so this is actually the largest chain of atolls in the world. So you can see them extending there from the northwest to the southeast. And it actually covers an area roughly the size of Western Europe. And then throughout all of the Tuamotus, there's approximately 16,000 inhabitants. So whereas our cruise that I'm talking specifically about is in the Society Islands, Paul Gauguin does have some itineraries that go into the Tuamotus, but it wouldn't be on this specific trip. There's actually, I've had a few people specifically asking me about Fakarava. So you'll see that as an island here in the Tuamotus. So on a 10-day excursion or a 10-day itinerary, you do get to visit Fakarava. Here's some beautiful pictures here. So again, you see the atolls, you see some of the beautiful black pearls. One of the opportunities you have is for those of you who aren't faint of heart is to go swimming with stingrays as well as sharks. But there's also maybe some more less stressful activities that you could do as far as riding an e-bike, for example. And so I'll talk a little bit more about the excursions that are available once you're on board. So a lot of folks think of French Polynesia as this luxurious, you think of the amenities that are available with the overwater bungalows. You might have pictures in your mind of white sand beaches. But I wanted to call out that in the Marquesas Islands, which is also another area that Paul Gauguin does a few tours to, these are actually volcanic islands, and these are actually some of the most remote islands in the world. So you can see down where we started off in the Society Islands in Tahiti, the Marquesas Islands are actually 850 miles northeast of Tahiti and 3,000 miles west of Mexico. And Mexico is actually the nearest continental landmass to the Marquesas Islands. So you'll see that they are actually more remarkably dry in this area. And they actually have a very rich tradition of art. So they range from large wooden sculptures for their art, or that you might find small, intricate personal or items. So, for example, in the bottom middle picture, where he's wearing some necklace that's made out of bone and shells, they oftentimes will decorate their objects with very elaborate anthropomorphic and geometric motifs. So, kind of similar to the tattoo designs, then those are all part of a traditional practice there in the Marquesas Islands. So, I've given you a little bit of information about where we are in the world. Let's actually talk about the cruise ship itself. So Paul Gauguin would say that the secret to their success is really their size. So they're a large enough ship to offer a luxury experience, but they're also small enough to really get into the destination. And their vessel that you see here has a very shallow draft of just 17 feet as compared to a nearly 32 feet draft of like a Royal Caribbean Oasis class ship. And even the Queen Mary II from Cunard has almost a 33-foot draft. And this ship that you see here is 20,000 tons versus, again, those big ships at over 200,000 tons. So it's a small ship. You actually are experiencing high service and cuisine in true luxury, but the dress code is really a more kind of laid back island style. So, for example, you can see here during the day, t-shirt and shorts for the gentleman, a nice dress, maybe a soft cover up top, depending on what the activities are during the day. And then for evening, cotton pants for a gentleman would be just fine, along with a collared shirt, for example. One of the things I want to point out is their all-inclusive cuisine. And so all meals, that includes every restaurant that you could eat at on board, and they have three of dining venues, as well as all room service is included. There is no service charge, which you may be used to with other cruise lines, especially for room service. And I will call out for those of you who might have a craving late at night that room service is open 24 hours. In addition to your cuisine, all beverages, so soft drinks, beer, select wine and spirits are all included, as well as bottled water and hot beverages. Also included when you are on the Paul Gauguin is water sports. And I like to call out on this picture the marina platform that they have at the back of the ship. So this actually lowers, and you can see a few people there are still inside the marina. And this is an awesome opportunity to get right into the water. So you can launch your paddle boards, your kayaks. They even have zodiacs for those that are doing dive excursions while there. And I'll talk a little bit more about the diving opportunities in that. If you want to become PADI certified, they do have a scuba diving program. They offer certification, or you can actually get recertified as well. But it all takes place off of this water sports marina. In addition, they also have two exclusive retreats. One is on Motu Mahana, and the second one is on Bora Bora. So I'll talk a little bit about both of those. In the Motu Mahana, Paul Gauguin has an exclusive retreat area where you can really get to experience Polynesian hospitality. You can go snorkeling right from the beach. They have water sports and all the equipment available. As you can see, these folks are enjoying some bar service. And in the lower right-hand corner, you've got a beautiful picture of their delicious buffet service that they have, where you can enjoy quite a feast while you're there. Bora Bora also has a private beach, and for many, including me, that was what I was looking for when I was looking for an itinerary to experience French Polynesia, because we see these amazing pictures with these lush peaks and, as I mentioned earlier, white sand beaches and just those jagged mountains right above the shoreline. And so Bora Bora is one of those places that I know I'm looking forward to. There's only a little over 4,000 inhabitants, so it's really quite laid back. But when you're visiting this exclusive private beach, you get to enjoy, again, snorkeling. They have bar service there. Volleyball is set up. You could just relax in a chair. But with the itinerary, on the cruise that I've selected, we actually overnight in Bora Bora. So you can spend 2 days. So maybe a day on water and a day on land. One of the nice features that Paul Gauguin offers is entertainment and Polynesian activities throughout the voyage. So you'll see a picture here. The Les Gauguins are the females on the trip, and the Gauguins are the males. And these are the Tahitian hosts and entertainers that are really bringing the spirit of Polynesia to life. So we may be on a certain day enjoying a retelling of an ancestral legend, perhaps through dance. They'll do traditional songs on board and even in the private motu. You can learn local handicrafts because they do hands-on demonstrations. And then I'll talk a little bit more about this unique opportunity a couple slides from now, but you can also celebrate a honeymoon or an anniversary by attending a Polynesian blessing ceremony. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. One of the things that's included is nightly entertainment, and there's a variety of shows. You'll love this statistic. The crew to guest ratio is one crew member to every 1.5 guests. So this is actually one of the highest ratios of any luxury cruise ship. I like to mention that onboard gratuities for your room stewards, dining, bar staff is all included. So this is not one of those trips where they're nickeling and diming you, because inclusion is where it's at, including Wi-Fi. So for those of you who like to stay connected, maybe you want to upload pictures of your fabulous journey, videos, you have the opportunity to stay connected because Wi-Fi is available throughout the ship. A couple other things that I wanted to mention that you can take advantage of are a fitness center that's on board. It's fully equipped with all of the machines that you might want to take advantage of there. There are spacious outdoor decks. There's a pool. There's a book library that's open 24 hours a day. And there are also a number of special guests that Paul Gauguin brings on board, including local naturalists, to talk to you about what you're seeing. So in addition to what's included with a Paul Gauguin cruise, there are some enhancements and some add-ons. And one of those is airfare, because, right, we have to get there first. And so Paul Gauguin does have a contract with Air Tahiti Nui. This is flying out of LAX or Seattle. They have a standard package that you can add on that includes a day room and also their transfers to and from the ship. Or you can choose to just purchase a la carte air for the flight. Um, I did find out that they are in the process of signing a contract with United Airlines. So that should be ready to go when we can start booking airfare. So normally you can book airfare about 10 to 11 months prior to departure. In this case, with this specific trip taking place in July, of 2026. Airfare will be available around August of 2025. And I do want to mention that at this point in time, the United contract will be for airfare also out of LAX. So this is one thing that's been on my bucket list. I want to stay in an overwater bungalow. So with Paul Gauguin Cruises, whereas their main focus is the cruise itself, they do offer some extended stay options. And so here in Tahiti, you can stay in an overwater bungalow at the Intercontinental. They do have a couple of other packages where you can take a ferry to Moorea, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. They have overwater bungalows available at the Sofitel Hotel, or you may decide before or after the cruise that you want to spend more time in Bora Bora. And they also have, as we saw earlier, and we'll see again, some overwater bungalows, and those are at the Intercontinental Thalasso. So there's lots of opportunities to extend and packages that Paul Gauguin can put together for you. Shore excursions are not included, but you have the opportunity to just experience Tahiti in a myriad of ways. And I'll talk about some more specifics as we look at each of the islands on the itinerary. But it's everything from what you would expect in the water. So snorkeling, scuba diving. There's even aqua bike adventures. So for those of you who love being underwater but don't want to scuba dive, there's a great opportunity to be on a scooter underwater, wave runners, glass bottom boats experiences, helicopter flights, plus touring. There's so much to see with pineapple fields, maybe by ATV, touring um, different pearl farms. So we'll talk about a lot of opportunities that you have, or you may just want to kick back, relax, and enjoy the ship, or even just walking around on your own. So here's a picture of a wave runner that you can do in one of your excursions. If you're staying on board or you just want to experience some pampering, the Deep Nature Spa by Algotherm is available. And they do skincare therapies, they do massage, they do reflexology, aromatherapy, body wraps, facials, all kinds of beauty treatments. But the one thing that I have to mention that is intriguing to me is they also offer overwater relaxing massages on their private Motu. So the day that you're on their private stretch of beach, you can get a relaxing massage over water. So sounds like a great opportunity to pamper yourself or a loved one. I mentioned earlier scuba diving that you can do. So there's a number of scuba diving experiences that are available for those who are PADI certified. And if you're not, you can get a resort certification for diving, and they will also really gauge what you're doing based on your preferences and your level of comfort. So one of the great things is they include all of the dive gear. So guests, when they get back on the marina there at the back of the ship, you just leave all your gear there. You don't have to lug it all to your room. I did want to put in a plug for travel insurance. So travel insurance can be purchased through Paul Gauguin to protect your vacation investment. I, through Expedia Cruises, have also have the opportunity to share with you information from one of our preferred suppliers, which is Travelex Insurance. Or for those of you who travel quite frequently, there is an annual policy available that I can share more information about that's through Allianz. The other thing that I recommend is also always take a look at what your credit card may offer. I've heard from several customers that American Express has a great coverage that you might be able to take advantage of. So just want to throw that out there. When you think of Tahiti, you think of French Polynesia, you likely think of romance. And as I mentioned earlier, there is the opportunity to take part in a complimentary blessing ceremony. So, this blessing ceremony allows you to experience a renewal, a blessing, and then you also have the opportunity to have pictures taken. They give you flower arrangements. You also have the opportunity to dine with the captain. So there's a lot of little extras that take place. But what a great way to renew your wedding vows, or for those honeymooners that are on board to experience their love in such a beautiful location. Families can also experience Paul Gauguin cruises. They have to be 1 years old or older to be on board, but they have a wonderful program called the Moana Explorer program that's offered about 11 times a season. It's designed for kids ages 6 through 15, primarily in the summer and then at the Christmas time, so in the month of December. But this opportunity for children to really engage with hands-on interactive activities, both on board as well as when they're ashore. You're learning about the natural wonders and the unique cultures of the region. So, and if anybody has children or grandchildren that they think would enjoy this experience, there's a great opportunity to explore underwater life. They conduct water experiments, they create natural jewelry, they go on a treasure hunt, they learn about the Tahitian culture and the island legends, as well as geology, and they design a Polynesian tattoo. So a lot of activities available for children. And the itinerary that I have selected does have this Moana Explorer program as an option. So I've mentioned a few things about the MS Paul Gauguin. So it sleeps no more than 330 guests. And as we talked about, the crew to guest ratio is 1 to 1.5. So that is absolutely amazing to ensure that you get that personalized service and experience. There is a crew of over 200 that's on board. And the ship itself was actually recently renovated. So that happened in 2021. You take a look at that picture of the ship there on the right, and you'll notice that almost every window or every space there is a stateroom with a balcony. So 70% of the staterooms on the ship do have private balconies. And the staterooms range in size from 200 to 588 square feet. You'll find a variety of bedding options. So in some of the larger suites, there's king size beds, queen size beds, and then there are some twins available as well. Let's take a look at the dining. As I mentioned earlier, there are 3 dining locations when you're on board. So the first is Le Grill, and this is one where they have the same menu every night. Breakfast and lunch are served buffet style, and it's al fresco seating. And the cuisine for dinner is Tahitian and Pacific. This does require reservations, as does the next restaurant, La Veranda. Same thing again, breakfast and lunch are a buffet and it's al fresco seating, but dinner in the evening is French cuisine. And reservations again are required for this restaurant. The third is Le Etoli, which is only open for dinner. And so the reservations are not required for this restaurant. And it's continental cuisine, so open seating as well for this. As I mentioned earlier, you also have room service available for you 24 hours a day. And if you happen to be ordering during the dinner time, there are options from the menu at Le Hôtel that you can order as well. In the evening, as I mentioned, I was going to share a little bit more about what you can experience. The Le Grand Salon is used for many of the spectacular performances that you will be experiencing. There's an electrifying Polynesian show featuring the arts of the island, along with the entertainers, the Les Gauguins and the Gauguins. But every night is different. So one night you might hear the soaring a cappella harmonies of Himini songs, which are traditional songs from the island. Another show might feature a Polynesian troupe offering a complex line dance accompanied by drums, telling some of the ancestral legends of the Polynesian people. On other nights, it may be a little more modern. You might marvel at the skill of a pianist or find yourself tapping your foot to a rock band or humming along with familiar tunes performed by a veteran of Broadway. But their selection of entertainment is sure to make every evening quite a pleasure. In addition, they do have a piano bar on board. So in the evenings, you may decide to grab a drink there at the bar and enjoy a nightly entertainment. There'll be musical entertainment there nightly. Or there's also La Palette, which is a lounge that is available throughout the day. So in the morning, you actually can have a snack here. It's not technically a restaurant. You might also want to experience afternoon tea that's served there. This is also where you would attend a honeymoon or anniversary blessing ceremony that I mentioned earlier. Or you can also enjoy a nightcap and dance under the stars to the strains of live music. So space is used for a lot of different activities on board. Here's a beautiful picture of the expansive deck space that's on board. So there are 3 decks that you can take advantage of for the beautiful landscapes and views or for relaxing. Here you have the pool deck. They also have a sun deck and a promenade deck. Let's talk a little bit about the staterooms and the suites that are available. So total, there are 165 staterooms and suites, and some of the accommodations can host up to 3 guests. That would be adults. In some cases, there is space for 2 adults and 2 small children. But all the rooms feature an ocean view, whether it's a balcony or a window. You have individual temperature control. You have a full-size tub and shower in your bathroom. You have complimentary bathrobes and slippers, a hair dryer, a TV, a CD and DVD player. You have a personal safe. You have a refrigerator that's stocked with soft drinks and more. And I'd like to mention that there are 2 wheelchair accessible staterooms as well. So the first and largest stateroom is the owner's suite. It is 534 square feet up to 588. And I mention that because there are 2 separate owner suites that are available. You'll also notice that it mentions butler service. So let me talk a little bit about what butler service is. So all guests that are in suites or staterooms in a category B or higher, you automatically receive the perk of butler service. So what a butler can do for you, for example, is if you wish for them to unpack your luggage so you can start enjoying the ship right away, they will do that. They can arrange to have your clothes pressed. They can make reservations for you at the spa or for dinner, as I mentioned in La Veranda or Le Grill, where you need reservations. If you like to spend more time ashore, butlers can arrange for a private car. They can also make lunch reservations at a local restaurant. So butler service is available for the owner suite as well as in the grand suite here. So there are 2 grand suites on board. They are 529 square feet. And this is one of those staterooms, as was the owner suite, that can accommodate up to 3 adults or 2 adults and 2 children sharing that sofa bed that you see on the far side of the room. The next is the veranda suite. This is what we call a category A. 358 square feet. Again, you've got the lovely butler service. There are 4 of these suites available. And again, you can accommodate up to 3 adults or 2 adults and 2 children sharing that sofa bed. The last category B, veranda stateroom, the last one to have butler service, I should say, ranges at 305 square feet. There's a 2 of these on board, and the other one is 303 square feet. This is one that can accommodate 3 only, up to 3, I should say. And then finally, you have categories. Sorry, not finally, we've got 2 more categories. We have C and D here, which is also a veranda stateroom. These can also accommodate a 3rd guest because that love seat that you see, so it's a little bit smaller room. So you have smaller furniture. This is a love seat, so that will sleep a 3rd person if need be. And there are a couple rooms in this category that just have showers. So if anybody just wants a shower, let me know, and I have specifics on which ones have no tub in them. And then finally, here's the category E and F. So the difference between E and F, they're the same square footage at 200 square feet, but category F has a porthole, whereas what you're seeing here in the picture is a picture window. There is also a stateroom. I have one of these that's wheelchair accessible, and it can also accommodate a 3rd guest. They have the ability to add in a rollaway. So those are your category options. Destinations, let's quickly go through what the itinerary is and what you can experience. So normally, Paul Gauguin starts their tours here in Papeete, and it's on the island of Tahiti. They go to Huahine, which is on our itinerary as well for day 2, but then they skip Raiatea and they go to Motu Mahana, which is right here. You'll see that this itinerary is called More Society Islands in Tahiti because it gives you one more stop. And I wanted to pack in as much as I could on this trip. So I picked this specific itinerary. So as I mentioned, you start off in Papeete, then you're in Huahine, Raiatea, then you're in Taha, which has the Motu Mahana, which is their private island area. Then 2 nights, or I should say 2 days in Bora Bora, because it's an overnight there. And then you're back to Moorea, and then where you started in Papeete. So it's a round trip. The dates for this trip that I've selected are July 11th, 2026 through July 18th, 2026. So the first spot is Tahiti, and this is the most famous of the French Polynesian island group. It's the beautiful, inspiring Society Islands that form the centerpiece for most of the voyages of the Gauguin. And sometimes you may hear people refer collectively to Tahiti as meaning all of the Society Islands, because they're just known for their beautiful, jaw-dropping scenic splendor, their beautiful mountains, deep valleys, the clear streams and waterfalls, the rugged coastlines, and the abundance of tropical flowers. So here in Tahiti, people often start off here but may not spend time here. They want to get on to see the other islands, but there's so much to see here in Tahiti with the beautiful, rugged, jagged mountaintops, as well as a city to explore of Papeete. So here's some pictures of the public market, which is a great place to meet the locals who usually start their day there picking their fish out for the day, their produce, or any other staples that they might need for their household. You'll also find a wide selection here in the market of fruits and vegetables, handcrafts, flowers, and I'll also mention that this is a great place to pick up your souvenirs. The next stop on the itinerary, and this is day 2, is Huahine. So you can either do exploring on the land or in the water. Here in Huahine, you've got the option, as I talked earlier, with shore excursions to visit a black pearl farm. You can go on an ATV tour. Maybe you just want to spend the day at the beach. And there's also some sacred sites as well as a UNESCO World Heritage Site here. You also have the opportunity to explore the island by e-bike. So next, you'll see two islands that are very close together. On the right is Raiatea, which is the stop on day 3. And then on day 4 is Tahiti. And so that's the Motu Moana that I've mentioned earlier. So in day 3, when you're in Raiatea, you may decide that you want to do some kayaking. There's island tours. There's also forests of bamboo and balsa and rosewood that are plentiful on this island. When visiting Taha, there is a vanilla plantation that you can visit, as well as beautiful pearl farms. And as I mentioned earlier, Paul Gauguin's private area at the Motu Mahana, where you can be serenaded by some of the Gauguins and Gauguines. Bora Bora, one of the places that I'm most looking forward to, and we have the opportunity to overnight here, is the beauty of the island. And you notice in this picture here a number of the overwater bungalows here along the atolls on the inside. So here you have the opportunity to go swim with stingrays. You can go off-roading or exploring some of the historical sites there in Bora Bora. For those, again, who aren't faint of heart, you can get in the water with sharks. And you may decide that you want to do some dune buggy riding. There's a number of excursions that you can do on the island as well. In Moorea, again, you've got the lush landscape here. Again, ATV riding. Perhaps you want to go swimming. The top picture there shows a family surrounded by stingrays as well as sharks. Or maybe you're more looking for those picturesque views, hiking in the forest and around waterfalls, or zip lining for those of you who are courageous as well. And if I've got any golfers that are online, there are actually 2 golf courses in the islands of Tahiti. So one is on Tahiti, but the more popular of the 2 is Moorea, the Green Pearl Golf Course. So it's actually an 18-hole golf course. It was designed by Jack Nicklaus. Golf carts as well as equipment can be rented, so you don't have to lug all of your clubs with you. But if you are interested, you'll want to let me know ASAP because we'll want to reserve an early tee time for you. So here's the itinerary of the group that I've put together. And what I love about Paul Gauguin groups is it allows us to really do a number of things in a short period of time, but they also offer us some great savings. So you'll see that we get a 30% bonus savings off of their normal rates and an additional 5% group savings. They're also offering $200 per person of shipboard credit. And then there are all the inclusions with this cruise. You've got all of your accommodations on board, all of your meals, including that complimentary room service 24 hours a day. Your gratuities are included, your non-alcoholic beverages and select wine, beer, and spirits. Your Wi-Fi's included, as well as your entertainment and some of the non-motorized water sports, or I should say all of the non-motorized water sports. So if you want to do paddleboarding or you want to learn to kayak or get out there and snorkel, that's all included. So you may be asking me, okay, Larena, what things aren't included? So obviously your airfare, and we talked a little bit about that earlier. Insurance, which I recommend, but it's not required. Those shore excursions in the different port. And if you're interested in more details, I have a link I can send you about shore excursions. And if you're wishing to extend, if you want to spend some more days pre or post cruise in the islands, we can definitely um, provide you with some options for those. So at this point, I'd like to say thank you. And in Tahitian, that would be maruru. There's my contact information. I am allowed to share or to sell a certain number of cabins in my group, and I will tell you that I have been pleasantly surprised how many people have had this on their bucket list as well. And so rooms are going fast. If you are interested, I would say contact me this week. I do have a call out to them, finding out if I can also extend and add more cabins because I have seen a lot of interest. So thank you first off for your time this evening. I hope you learned something. And if this is the right time, great. If it's not, hopefully this will be a place that you get to explore sometime in the future. With that, I'm going to stop recording, stop sharing, and we can all turn our cameras on. And I'm happy to answer as many questions as I can.